In this episode, we talk about reverse dieting, deceitful marketing, and optimal pre- and post-workout nutrition. Hello everybody, welcome to Equals and Alternatives, episode 96. I'm your host, Mike Vacanti, and today we are reviewing Fiber One protein with a whopping 6 grams of protein in 140 calories. Normally on this show we compare something not so great, something that you assume is pretty healthy or might assume is healthier as phony marketing going on, like calling it protein on the front and center of the box when it's really not, to something obviously bad, right? A salad equals a cheeseburger gets your attention, you're like, what's going on? And then we talk about stuff. Here, we're taking what appears to be a protein source, and obviously nothing wrong with oatmeal. I love oatmeal. I've been eating oatmeal for over 20 years. It's awesome. But oatmeal is very obviously a carb source. If you ask anyone who knows like the tiniest amount about proteins, carbs, fats, where does oatmeal fall? Oatmeal is a carbohydrate. However, in the same number of calories of oatmeal as Fiber One bar, we have the same protein content. That just goes to show you how non-protein of a product of a food that is. Pisses me off. I was walking through the grocery store, I was looking, we were gonna review a couple kinds of bread, but I was on the phone with my grandma at the time. She had back surgery a little while back. Big shout out, Grandma, if you're watching this. I actually kind of hope you're not. I don't know. Big shout out, Grandma, I love you if you're watching this. I get weirded out when my family watches any of my stuff because sometimes I swear and sometimes I talk about like dating, just random things that I wouldn't be talking to them about. We got a little sidetracked there. Where I was going with that is I was walking through the grocery store and on the phone, looking for bread, couldn't find the bread, couldn't multitask, ended up just walking through the grocery store, coming down the carb aisle, and I see cereal with protein on it, and like my blood's boiling a little bit. I'm like, love you, Grandma, okay, good talking to you. And then when we got off the phone, I see this, and just like, oh, and actually, let's link to, not even link to, we're gonna take over the screen with this rant that I did on why I hate scummy marketers, just like 30 seconds of it, so go to that.
General Mills made I just looked at their 10K, they made $1.8 billion in 2014, and they made $1.8 billion in 2013 too. Like, this isn't an information problem, you guys. They know what they're doing. This isn't like, oh, marketing people don't know about nutrition. You make fucking food for a living. That's what you do. Hire some schmuck like me for 2 hours for $100 an hour out of your $1.8 billion in net income as a consultant and be like, hey, is this high protein? And I'll be like, no, General Mills, it's not fucking high protein. It's the exact same as regular Cheerios, but doubling the serving size.
All right, we're back. I'm not going to come with that level of heat right now, but I just straight up don't like lying on packages. That's it. And this says protein, 6 grams and 140 calories means 24 calories from protein, 1/6 of the calories from protein, 18% of the calories in this are from protein. This is not a high protein option. It is a high-ish carb, moderate fat option with fiber. That's it. Alternative, I mean, I think someone, why do I keep shoving this box at the camera? I don't know. I think one would eat a Fiber One bar either as a snack or a quick on-the-go breakfast type thing in the same way that they might eat oatmeal, maybe paired up with something else, maybe not. In those situations, you can literally eat anything else. You can not eat, you can have black coffee, you can have green tea, you can fast, you can eat a giant pancake breakfast, you can have bacon and eggs, you can have a cheat day. It literally doesn't matter. Why we are reviewing this is because this is not a protein source. And for someone to think that it is, here, buzzword protein, mainstream media, good thing, I see protein here, I'm gonna eat this, I think I am getting protein, it's just wrong. So eat whatever you want, but make sure that your calories and protein, and ideally all of your macronutrients, are at least somewhat close to your targets for the day. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're front loading in the morning, getting more at night, regardless, just get your numbers close. In time, you're gonna see progress. If you don't know what exactly your numbers should be, today's October 1st, I think in the next 7 days, there might be some kind of new macro tracking app that has training rest day splits and is free and gives you my personal equations, will be available. on iPhone. All right, so our alternative is literally eat anything or nothing and hit your intake for the day. Question of the day comes from a coaching client who emailed me. I don't know what like the protocol is on dropping first names. When someone's like, here's a question of the day, I'll say their first name, but if it's just a question I get and I'm like, hey, this is awesome, can you wait like 20 hours so I can answer this on the show? And she was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Basically, pre and post workout nutrition, what type of macro split, what type of foods are good, timing, just can I talk about pre and post workout nutrition? I'm going to address this for this woman specifically because her situation was a little bit different, and then I'm going to talk in more general terms. So she's a lean woman at 5'6". When she came to me, she was not eating very much. I want to say in the 1,000 to 1,200 calorie range, and her goal was to be a little bit leaner, like not necessarily lose weight or lose a bunch of fat, but be more defined, be more toned, like a very understandable goal. However, I told her, we're not taking calories any lower than you are right now. To stay where you are right now, we could stay there for a little bit, I guess. She weighs 124 to 127 pounds kind of range. But I was like, look, here is what makes the most sense for you, for your health, for your long-term happiness, for your ability to lose fat in the future if you really want to do that. Let's reverse diet for 12 weeks. Let's set aside getting leaner for the next 12 weeks. Let's slowly increase your calories so that over time, your BMR is going to come back up a little bit. We might add a little bit of lean mass through the course of this. You're not going to lose body fat. You might gain a half a pound of body fat over the course of 12 weeks, which hasn't been the case. And often people think that they are gaining body fat just because they aren't used to eating more. So as we add 40 to 80 calories per week or whatever, depends on the person and your tolerance to how strict you want to be about absolutely not gaining any body fat. But a lot of people lose a little bit of weight in a reverse diet because they're still in a deficit for a decent amount of that time. Anyway, I think we're 10, I'm not exactly sure. I want to say about 10 weeks in. But for the purposes of pre and post workout nutrition in a reverse diet, I would say, and she goes on to say, she wakes up at 5 a.m., works out at 6:15, 3 days a week. The other days she's working out on her lunch break. So on the days you're waking up very early in the morning, if you feel good eating something pre-workout, that's cool. You absolutely do not have to. And you aren't doing a ton of volume to the point where, like a 2-hour bodybuilder workout, like to the point where, or 3 hours, you are depleting all of your carb stores in your muscle, and by not eating or taking BCAAs pre-workout, you may end up converting muscle to energy to support that workout. That's not really an issue for you. That's not an issue for most people. So you don't have to eat pre-workout. If you do eat pre-workout, I would suggest something like 20 to 25 grams of protein and 20 to 50 grams of carbs, depending on how you feel. As far as food type goes, I like whey protein just because it isn't food sitting in your stomach, taking a little bit more work to digest. I feel lighter when those calories come from liquid during a workout. And whatever you want for the carb source, a banana, an apple, oatmeal, food choice isn't a huge factor here. If you don't want to eat or want to try not eating, taking 10 grams of branched chain amino acids pre-workout makes sense. Post-workout, and just to speak in general terms for pre-workout nutrition, the same applies for fat loss. Like basically everything I just said, if your goal is to lose fat, that all applies. If your goal is to build muscle, eating pre-workout probably makes sense just to get another meal in, because for a lot of people trying to build muscle, getting enough calories can be an issue. So you get another meal in, you almost guarantee that you're not going to fully deplete glycogen stores, get some protein in you. It makes sense. You can train fasted, and I actually train fasted a decent amount of the time when I'm building muscle. Right now I have just shoulder, elbow. It's been a bad 2 weeks. I'm not going to go on that tangent right now, but when I'm building muscle, I often train fasted just because I enjoy the feeling. I enjoy stimulants when I'm fasted. I'm not doing high volume work, so I'm not depleting glycogen stores. It works for me, and I like eating more of my calories later in the day, but for most people, I would suggest eating pre-workout if your goal is muscle gain. Post-workout nutrition, if you go into the workout fasted, I would get some protein and some carbohydrates post-workout. Just protein is probably fine, but for the purposes of replenishing those carb stores in your muscle, I think that post-workout is a good time to eat carbs. So a shake with a banana, a shake with super fancy dextrose supplement, whatever you want to put in there, is it necessary? A whole meal of food. However, know that post-workout, when you trained fasted, the timing of your food does matter. So getting 40 grams of protein and 50 grams of carbs right after your workout versus an hour and a half later if you trained fasted, and we run that simulation a whole bunch of times, that adds up to meaningful progress. So I would get some protein and some carbs in post-workout. Food type, like if you want to eat whole food, if you want to have chicken breast and brown rice and broccoli, if you want to have whey protein and a Pop-Tart, I really don't care about food type or speed of digestion post-workout. I think that's it. The last thing to consider is lifestyle, right? So how are you going to feel the rest of the day? If I were to have 50 grams of protein and 350 grams of carbs post-workout, I could do that and hit my macros for the day fine when I'm building muscle. However, I'm not going to feel amazing, and I'm not going to have as much food to play with later in the day. So as far as portions go, if you want to have a huge post-workout meal, cool. Otherwise, get at least 30 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs. All right, we're back. Episode 96 in the books. It's Thursday. This is my first equals of the week. It's unacceptable. I'm not going to promise you guys that I'm going to be 5 days a week every day, though, because I'm just going to let you down. I'm going to let myself down. However, On the Regimen is making a hire. My man Chris is moving to New York City in 2 days on Saturday and starting full-time Monday. So I really have no excuses to not be pumping these out with him at my right hand. Hope you all have an awesome day. What's going on? Do I have something on my face? This is amazing. If I really am just noticing this, I was walking all over. What the hell is that? You know what? It's from the candle. Blew the candle out, felt a burn on my face, wiped it. OTR trivia. Which episode did Mike have a black thing on his face that he didn't notice the entire episode? It's a one-take show. Remember, your body is still counting macros, even if you're not.